long before the white man's footprints reached the eastern hills. Before the iron roads cut through the forests, there was a village, small, quiet, forgotten by time, nestled in a valley surrounded by sacred trees. That village was called Umanwoke. Its people were farmers, hunters, and storytellers. They lived by the river Mirinwagwu, a river said to have been blessed by a goddess. For generations, that river fed their crops, healed their wounds, and carried their prayers to the gods. But then, the river began to die. It started with silence. The frogs stopped croaking. The fish disappeared. And one morning, the villagers woke to find the riverbed dry, cracked like old skin. The sun burned hotter than ever before. The yams refused to grow. Children cried from thirst, and the elders murmured that the gods had turned their backs. But in the midst of that despair, fate was preparing a story, one born not of power or wealth, but of a young woman whose name would soon echo beyond her time. Her name was Ogechi. Ogechi was barely 22, but grief had already carved lines in her face. She lived with her mother at the edge of the village, near the path that led into the great forest. Her father had died seasons ago, carried away by a fever no healer could name. Her mother, once strong and full of laughter, was now thin as dry bamboo. One evening, as the crimson sun fell behind the hills, Ogechi sat beside her mother's mat, fanning her with a palm leaf. The old woman's breath came in shallow gasps. "Ogechi, my child," her mother whispered. Her voice was weak, trembling like the flame of a dying lamp. "Listen to me carefully." She reached under her mat and pulled out a small wooden box, old, carved with strange spiral patterns that seemed to shimmer faintly in the dim light. Ogechi opened it and gasped. Inside lay a necklace, woven with coral beads, small cowries, and at its center, a smooth blue stone that seemed to glow softly from within. "Mama, what is this?" Ogechi asked. Her mother looked at her with eyes that held both love and fear. "This belonged to your grandmother. It is a gift and a curse. Promise me, never let it touch the river, unless you are ready to know who you truly are." Ogechi frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" But her mother only smiled weakly. "The time will come when you will understand. When the river calls your name, you must listen, but be careful what answers." Before Ogechi could ask another question, her mother's hand slipped from hers. The air went still. The flame of the oil lamp flickered and died. Ogechi let out a cry that tore through the quiet night. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly, though the sky remained dry. And in the corner of the hut, the blue stone on the necklace glowed, once, twice, like a heartbeat. That night, Ogechi couldn't sleep. She sat outside, beneath the moon, the box in her lap. The necklace shimmered faintly, the blue stone reflecting the stars. She held it close, and for a moment, she thought she heard something. A whisper, soft, like a woman's voice carried by the wind. "Ogechi." She froze, looking around. The night was empty. The voice came again, closer this time, almost tender. "Ogechi, my child." She dropped the necklace in fear, her heart racing. The glow dimmed instantly, leaving her in silence. She sat there until dawn, staring at the horizon, wondering what kind of spirit had just spoken her name. Drums beat softly, the sound of villagers gathering. The next morning, a drum echoed across the village square, 3 deep strikes, a call for all to gather. Ogechi joined the crowd, her face pale from the sleepless night. At the center stood Debways, the chief priest of the gods, a tall, severe man with chalk-white markings on his chest. He raised his carved staff high and spoke in a voice that carried like thunder. "Children of Umanwoke, the gods have turned their faces from us. The river goddess is angry. Our land burns beneath a curse." He scattered white chalk on the ground and cast his sacred cowries. They rattled and rolled in the dust before settling. The crowd waited in tense silence. Dibways knelt, examined them, then froze. When he looked up, his eyes were wide, almost afraid. "A sacrifice must be made," he said. "A life must return to the river for the waters to flow again." A murmur of fear swept through the people. He lifted one of the cowries and pointed it toward the edge of the crowd. "The oracle has spoken. The chosen one is among us. She bears the mark of the goddess." People turned, eyes scanning. And then, slowly, they all turned toward Ogechi. Her heart skipped. "What? Me?" The priest pointed directly at her. "The necklace you wear, it is not of man. It is the spirit of the river itself." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, "River child." Another hissed, "Omen of drought." Ogechi shook her head, backing away. "No, I didn't ask for this. I don't even know what it means." Dibway's tone hardened. "You were chosen before you were born. The blood of the goddess flows in you. If you refuse the sacrifice, the whole village will perish." The people began to close in, fear in their eyes, desperation on their faces. Ogechi did the only thing she could. She ran. She ran past the huts, through the fields of dying yam and cassava, into the forest path her mother had always warned her never to take. Branches scratched her arms. The earth was hot beneath her feet. Behind her, the drums of the priest grew fainter, replaced by the sound of her own heartbeat. When night fell, she collapsed beneath a tree, gasping for breath. She was alone, completely alone. The forest was alive with strange sounds, hooting owls, whispering leaves, distant howls of unseen creatures. But beneath all that, she heard it again, the whisper, "Ogechi, come home." Her eyes widened. "Who are you?" she whispered back. The air shimmered faintly, and for just a moment, she saw the outline of a woman made of water and light, standing by the shadows of the trees. Then the vision vanished. Ogechi hugged her knees and wept, not knowing whether she was cursed or chosen. And as the wind blew through the leaves, somewhere far away, thunder rolled again, soft, distant, but drawing closer. For 3 days and nights, Ogechi wandered the forest. The trees loomed tall, their roots like ancient serpents crawling across the earth. She ate wild fruits, drank from muddy puddles, and wrapped herself in leaves when the cold wind blew. Her feet were blistered. Her throat burned with thirst. And yet, something inside her urged her to keep moving. Sometimes, she thought she heard footsteps behind her, but when she turned, there was nothing. Sometimes she heard her mother's voice calling softly through the leaves. Sometimes, she heard that same whisper again, gentle, watery, echoing inside her mind. "You are close. Come to me, child." She pressed her palms against her ears, trembling. "Who are you? Why are you following me?" The forest answered with silence, and the slow rustle of wind through the trees. By the 4th day, she could walk no more. She sank beside a fallen log, dizzy from hunger and heat. Her vision blurred. The necklace glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. And then, darkness. When she woke, it was to the crackle of fire and the smell of roasted yam. A deep voice said softly, "You shouldn't be here." Her eyes fluttered open. A man sat across from her, tall, broad-shouldered, his skin glistening with sweat and dust. He wore a hunter's leather and carried a bow carved from Iroko wood. He watched her carefully, a mixture of curiosity and suspicion in his gaze. "Who are you?" Ogechi asked weakly. "My name is Anin," he said. "I hunt alone now. The village cast me out." Ogechi sat up slowly, clutching the necklace. "Why did they cast you out?" He stared into the fire. "I refused the priest. He said the gods demanded my brother's life. I refused, so they called me cursed. I chose exile instead." Ogechi looked into the flames, her heart heavy. "So we are both cursed." Anin smiled faintly. Maybe the gods love their cursed ones more. He offered her a piece of yam. She hesitated, then accepted. For the first time in days, warmth filled her belly. That night, as she drifted to sleep by the fire, she dreamed again, this time more vividly than ever before. Ogechi fell to her knees, tears in her eyes. Why me? I am no priestess. I don't even understand what I am. The goddess stepped closer, her voice soft but mighty. You are both, human and spirit, the bridge that must heal what was broken. When they imprisoned me in that necklace, they broke the covenant between land and water. Only my blood can restore it, and that blood flows in you. Anine stepped forward, defiant. You want to use her as a sacrifice, don't you? You're no goddess, you're another spirit hungry for flesh. Lightning cracked across the sky. The goddess's gaze turned fierce, and her voice boomed like thunder. Mortal, be silent. You know not the burden of the divine. Ogechi rose, trembling. Enough. Her voice echoed with strange power. The storm paused. She turned to the goddess. If I am your daughter, then I deserve the truth. What happens if I give myself to you? The goddess's expression softened. Then the river will live again. The people will be saved. And you will join me in the eternal waters, neither dead nor alive, but one with the river. Ogechi's heart pounded. She turned to Anine, his eyes filled with pain. You can't, he said softly. They don't deserve your life. Ogechi whispered, maybe not, but they deserve a second chance. Choose, Ogechi. The river waits. And as thunder shook the sky, Ogechi stepped forward, her decision echoing in the air like destiny itself. By the time Ogechi and Anine descended from the sacred hills, the air had changed. The once still forest now carried the scent of smoke and fear. When they reached the outskirts of Umanwoke, the village was a shadow of itself. The wells were dry. The yam barns stood empty. Children lay weak beneath the shade of trees, and the people's eyes were hollow, like clay pots with no water left. The moment they saw Ogechi, whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. She returns. The river child has come back. The gods have sent her to end our suffering. But among them was Debways, the high priest, his face painted in red chalk, his staff gleaming in the sun. He stepped forward, his voice booming across the square. You dare return after defying the gods? Ogechi met his gaze. The goddess spoke to me. The drought can end, but not through death. Through understanding. The priest sneered. Lies. The goddess demands blood, not words. He turned to the crowd. Shall we let her defy the gods once more? Or shall we give the river what it hungers for? The desperate villagers shouted, Sacrifice! Sacrifice! Anine drew his blade. Touch her, and I'll spill your blood before the gods do. But the crowd surged forward. Ogechi tried to speak, but her voice was drowned in their cries. She felt rough hands seize her arms, dragging her toward the old altar in the village square. They tied her wrists with raffia rope, chanting ancient words taught by the priest. Drums beat faster, louder, echoing through the night like the heartbeat of madness. Debways raised a carved knife above her chest. With her blood, the river shall return. Anine roared, pushing through the crowd. He fought like a lion, his spear striking down the gods. But as he reached Ogechi, one of the priest's men struck him from behind with a club. He fell to the ground, blood pouring from his head. Ogechi screamed, Anine! The priest turned, furious. You dare shed blood before the sacrifice. But Anine, weak and bleeding, crawled toward Ogechi. He grasped a hand, his eyes fading. You carry the river in your blood. Save them, even if they don't deserve it. And with that, his hand went limp. Ogechi's scream shook the air, raw and mournful. Something inside her broke. The necklace around her neck blazed with blue light, snapping the ropes that bound her wrists. The crowd stumbled back in terror. Dibways raised his staff, but lightning struck it from his hand. Ogechi rose slowly, her hair whipping in the wind, her eyes glowing like the river goddess herself. The sky darkened. Thunder rolled over the hills. "Enough," she cried. "No more blood will be spilled for the gods you twist to your greed." She turned and ran, away from the altar, through the panicked crowd, toward the forest once more. The storm followed her, lightning flashing through the trees, wind howling like spirits crying her name. Ogechi climbed the path to the sacred river altar one last time. Her clothes were torn, her feet bleeding, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. The sky was black now, clouds swirling like a living thing. Thunder cracked as she reached the stone. Rain began to fall, the first drops the village had seen in years. She placed the necklace on the altar. The goddess's voice rose with the storm. "Ogechi, my daughter, you return at last." Ogechi's tears mingled with the rain. "I've lost everything. My mother, my friend, even my place among my people. If sacrifice will bring them peace, take me, but free them from this curse." The goddess's voice softened, almost sorrowful. "You are the bridge, my child. I do not want your death, I want your choice." Lightning flashed. The altar pulsed with blue light. Ogechi whispered, "Then my choice is freedom." She lifted the necklace high, the storm's wind tearing at her hair, and smashed it against the stone. A deafening sound split the night. The earth trembled. The sky burst open. From the shattered altar, a river erupted, pure and blue, flooding through the valley. The goddess's voice rose in a final echo. "You have freed me, and in freeing me, you have freed yourself." The flood surged around Ogechi, lifting her into the air. For a moment, she floated, her body glowing with divine light. Then she dissolved, becoming water, mist, spirit. The storm faded. The dawn broke, and the river flowed once more. Days later, the people of Amanwoke awoke to a miracle. The fields were green again. Fish danced in the river. The air smelled of life. Dibways, the priest, fell to his knees before the flowing waters, tears on his face. But the river only whispered, not in anger, but in peace. The villagers built a small shrine by the riverbank, not for the old goddess, but for the young woman who had saved them all. They called her Ogechi Miri, Ogechi of the water, the river mother. And every year, when the rain returned, they would gather by the river and throw blue flowers into the current, singing her name. They say that if you stand by the river of Amanwoke at dusk, and listen closely as the wind dances across the water, you will hear a woman's laughter, gentle and distant. Some say it is the river goddess. Others say it is Ogechi herself, watching over her people from the world beyond. But the truth is this. When gods and mortals forget their bond, the earth suffers. But when one heart bridges both worlds, life flows again. And so, the story of the necklace of Ogechi became legend. A tale told beside fires, whispered through generations, of the girl who became the river. The end.